Sometimes it's harder to get genuine buy-in on customer service expectations than getting buy-in on expectations with the technical work we do. We talk about how we must do this or that thing because it's critical to providing the experience we want for our valued customers. But there are challenges with getting a team of people to truly take these things, not related to the technical work we do, as seriously as they do the things that highlight their expertise. Today, I'll share one of my favorite ways to get real buy-in on doing the things we must do well and have nothing to do with the technical work we perform.
Running a service business can be hard. It is not unusual for business owners in industries like contracting, home repair, auto repair, business-to-business services like janitorial, IT and accounting, and many others to feel overwhelmed by all the priorities facing them at any given time. Between addressing the needs of the customers, managing the employees, figuring out the financials, and getting processes in place, feeling like you're making significant progress on your business journey can be difficult. Welcome to Service Industry Success, hosted by Brian Harding. Each week, Brian will look at real-world strategies for building the business you are dreaming of, while also sharing tactics to get through some of the most frustrating parts of business ownership with a lot more ease. Let's get started.
It's not always easy getting our team to buy into the fact that the customer's experience is quite often much more relevant to their overall happiness than how well we fixed the widget, or provided the documents, or did the thing. Sometimes it's even hard for us to remember this all the time. I would ask ourselves, we got to ask ourselves, what percentage of the 1 and 5-star reviews that are written do you think are written about how well the widget was fixed? I'd estimate it's less than 20%. I think 80% of 1, really bad reviews, and 5, really good reviews are written about the experience people have. People going going the extra mile, or doing the extra thing, or making sure we did this or that. Those 1 and 5-star reviews are generally about those kinds of things, in my opinion. I think we have this challenge with getting genuine buy-in, have this challenge about getting people to really buy into this experience being more important than the technical work for a few reasons. And to be clear, I'm not diminishing the fact that we have to be good at whatever our trade or craft is. We absolutely do. I've used this analogy before. I think you can go to the DMV to get your license renewed, get the license renewed, and have a horrible experience, but you can't have a good experience if you don't get the driver's license renewed. And I think that's the same for us. I think people generally grant that we know how to do the thing, and they believe that until we prove them otherwise, until we prove them wrong. I don't think they always grant us that we're going to provide a great experience. I think people think they're going to get the air conditioning unit fixed, but that doesn't mean they're going to have a good experience. And I think that for our team, it's hard to understand that the technical thing is really important, but it fits within the overall experience. It's not the thing, it's a thing, the technical part I'm talking about. How well you fix the HVAC unit, or how well you prepare the tax documents. That's a thing, but it's not the thing. The overall experience is the thing. And I hope that makes sense. This is a concept I've tried a few different ways to articulate, and I don't always think I get it right, but I hope it makes sense anyway. And I think we have the challenge with getting the genuine buy-in on the experience thing for a few reasons. The experience part being more important. 1, they get busy and whatever's in front of them is top of mind. And the other things, even though they know they're important, they're not pressing and they get kind of left by the wayside. So things like communication fall off, things like, making sure we do the things that our customer needs, whether it's addressing peace of mind or trust or those things kind of get left to the wayside because we're focused on what's right in front of us. Also, I think our employees providing a service tend to pride themselves on being experts in their field. And naturally, they love to showcase that expertise. So the technical works becomes a focal point of how they think the customer determines if this was a good experience or not. And I think that's where we start to, get off track. Third, as the experts, knowing what is going to happen way before the customer does, it's difficult for them to truly put themselves in the customer's shoes. So conversations we would have about a customer service issue were often, whether verbally or not, diminished in part because from the employee's perspective, as the expert, the customer should just understand some things. This is just what had to happen. Like, I know they didn't have a great experience, but we fixed the thing really well. That's what should matter. And the priority became defending the position or action instead of truly attempting to understand what the customer was experiencing. And defending ourselves when called out on something is a very human trait. I don't know of anybody who's immune from that. When we get called on something, we immediately want to defend ourselves. And so an easy way to defend yourself is, yeah, but look how good I fixed the thing. Look how well I provided this. So instead of trying to teach that instinct out of them, which I don't think I can do, I wanted to find a different way to illustrate the extreme importance of the things we needed to do to provide that exceptional customer experience. So one of the things I did, which worked really well, and I'm pretty embarrassed that it's taken me until episode 171 to talk about this. I would share my own experiences with companies I bought from. So throughout the week, I noted experience I had with providers. Specifically, I was on the lookout for exceptionally good or exceptionally bad experiences. So it didn't have to be a 1 or 10. It could be a 3 or 7. But I wasn't looking for middle of the road stuff. I wanted to highlight things that went really well from my perspective as a buyer, as a consumer, and things that didn't go so well. And I didn't focus on, in any case, how the things I would bring to the meetings, and I'll get to that part in a minute. I didn't focus on how well the thing got fixed. So I'm going to tell you a story in a little bit about hiring a fence company. When I talked to my team about the fence company, I didn't talk about how well the fence was fixed. I talked about the other things that were about the experience. I'll just tell you the fence story. I had this fence built, and the provider did a fantastic job of protecting my neighbor's property. My neighbor had an immaculate lawn, very nice people, and they did a great job of protecting their property. It was my fence being put in, and they did a great job of protecting the neighbor's property. And I didn't even talk to them about it. They just did it, and it had nothing to do with how well the fence was built. And they communicated exceptionally well. So when I came to my team on our regular Tuesday morning meeting, we didn't one time talk about how well the fence was built, which it was. It was a fantastic fence. But we didn't talk about that. I talked about the things that I really cared about. I assumed the guy knew how to build a fence. I didn't assume that he would take care of the neighbor's property. In fact, it didn't even occur to me, and I was just grateful and thankful that he did it. It didn't even occur to me to like warn him or anything like that. He just took it upon himself and he did a great job. That's 5-star material, 5-star review kind of material. Had nothing to do with how well the fence was built. 5-star review was all about how he proactively, without me having to tell him, took care of my neighbor's stuff. I talked about experiences my wife had getting her car serviced. Not one time did we talk about how well the oil got changed. So I talked about experiences with all kinds of things. I can't even remember all of them, but I'll just give you some examples that came to mind as I was putting the notes together for this episode. I had experiences with moving companies, of course, tons of home service companies, accounting firms, attorneys, the DMV, our own suppliers, only in instances where the employees already knew about it. I wasn't looking to rat out our suppliers for doing a poor job, but if everybody knew this thing happened, I would use that as an example. Getting my motorcycle serviced, towing companies, insurance companies, like you name it. I think I talked about the cable company one time. I think I talked about um, a utility company one time. Anything I could use to put our employees in a situation in my story where they were seeing the experience through the lens of the customer, mine. At the weekly meeting, I'd share these experiences with them. It was a great way to set up a scenario where our employees weren't looking through the lens of being the expert provider. They were looking through the lens of the customer's experience. So all those natural defenses went away. If I had an exceptionally good experience, I'd tell them about it and we would discuss what made it a good experience and how something we did or wanted to do better that was related was our version of providing a great customer experience for our clients in this same regard, like communicating well, for example. Likewise, if I had an exceptionally bad experience, I would tell them about it. We would talk about what made it a bad experience and how we do something or wanted to do something better that would stop this kind of bad experience in the context of what we do. And here's where the magic really began, though. As with many things we did consistently. I mean, I would do this. Sometimes I would do it weekly. I mean, there was a time where I was buying a house and selling a house, and like a lot of stuff was going on. I was spending a lot of money. I was buying a lot of things, and just I weekly. It seems like I would talk about this, but for sure, a couple of times a month. I'd say on average 2-3 times a month in the weekly meeting, I would have a experience I would share. And again, as I did this consistently over time, they began to bring in their own stories. So I would tell my story, and then they go, "Hey, can I tell you about something that happened to me this week or this weekend?" And they would talk about the experiences they had, good or bad. And they would talk about how they were glad we did this thing or that thing because it created an exceptional customer experience that we wanted. If they had a good experience in their story, they would say, and I'm glad that's why we do this. And if they had a bad experience, they would say, and I'm glad this is why we do that. And it was awesome once they began telling these stories because it prompted real conversations about how to identify and address the things that really matter to the customer that are not related to the technical work. Again, it's so easy for all of us, especially employees, trying to do a good job for the boss and be seen by their peers as being confident and getting that admiration that they want and presenting themselves to the customers as an expert. It's easy to fall into where we're really overly focused on how well we fix the widget. But that's not generally, again, that's a component of the experience, but it's not the experience. And this really began to help them break out of that. Yeah, but in this case, I had to do blank, or in this case, it's different for me because of this was happening. It got rid of all that. It got rid of all those natural defenses. We were able to have real, meaningful conversations about why the things that we kind of, you could say we harped on them. we trained on them every single week. Why these things mattered. There's that whole book, Start with Why. The why these things matter is, in my opinion, what compels people to do things when they otherwise wouldn't. If there's a strong reason to do it, I'm more likely to do it. If there's not so strong a reason to do it, I'll do it if it makes sense or convenient for me. And this helps solidify the why because they began to see that the customer was assessing their performance on the experience, not how well the widget was fixed. And once they knew in their gut, they had a fluency level understanding that how the customer was assessing them was on the experience. Well, what do you know? We started having better experiences. We started getting fewer complaints about people not having great experiences. Not that we had a lot of them to begin with, but we had even less. And it made my life easier because they got it. And they got it in a real way, not in a, well, the boss told me I'm supposed to do this way. It wasn't like that. It completely changed the entire viewpoint of how we looked at this experience versus how well we do the technical stuff. And so we just have to be aware, I think, when we're talking about our service with our employees, doing the work we do for our customers, it's very hard for them to be objective and or truly put themselves in our customer's place. It's even hard for us. There's no question. Customer calls to complain. Oftentimes our first move is to be defensive and protect what we did and defend what we did. It's really hard to be objective when we're talking about our service with our employees, doing the work we do with our customers. Talking about an experience I had, and then later what they had with somebody else in a completely unrelated industry to ours, completely changed the conversation. And it opened up a deeper level of conversation in our meetings about why we do things and the importance of stuff. Do we still make mistakes? Absolutely. But we made them a whole lot less. I know that. So I just say, just try this out. Just start noting mentally or writing it down experiences that you had that are notably good or bad, and using those to illustrate why we spend so much time talking about these things that really matter and have nothing to do with the technical work we do. And I hope you have the same great results I did. It really, really made a difference for us, and I hope it does for you too. As usual, if you like the information I share here, please share this podcast with a friend or colleague you think could benefit from it. Of course, public sharing is appreciated too. And if you haven't had a chance yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. Give us a rating review if you can spare a couple minutes. If you've already done that, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And that's it for this week, and I'll talk to you all next week.